really going to put a positive vibe in our markets too. I mean, if you just look at the markets reactions of about 3 weeks ago, markets are definitely stronger.
Okay.
And I do believe for our property market, that's definitely going to be a positive because, yeah, if the markets are doing well and the markets are going, it will definitely bring our interest rates down, which is definitely the biggest factor in our home loan market when we do look at people that want to buy properties and so forth. Just to quickly touch on the interest rates, if you guys open your training manuals that I've put together, just a little bit of an interesting fact. I've printed out the history of our South African interest rates dating back to 1948 when the interest rates were only at 4.5%. Oh my goodness, can we please go back to those days? We will all live in wealth, I'm telling you. And then you guys can go and read through it. There was very, very hard times. Interest rates went up as high as 24% if I'm not mistaken. Some of the people that's still here, Barry, jy gaan dalk ook kan sê, you've lived in those difficult times. And listen, Barry is still here. He's still alive, kicking and alive. So we can all survive those difficult times. Will we ever see interest rates at 24% again? I do not believe so, because I do believe our country is one of not the strongest, economies, but we do have very good people in business that can look after the country and hopefully keep things at bay with regards to interest rates. What is our prediction for the next interest rate? It's coming up on the 19th of September. Economists are all predicting interest rates are going to come down by 0.25%. Fingers crossed, guys, if we can get a little bit of a rate reduction by the end of the year. They're also looking at a further 0.225, and then by end of next year, hopefully we will be down by 1.5%, which is going to put us more or less back in the region where we were prior to COVID. All right. I think prior to COVID, we were at interest rate of 9.75, if you look at it. And interest rates obviously then went down. Sorry, it was at 10% prior to COVID. Came down to 9.75 in Jan, just prior COVID. And then you will see obviously the reduction on the interest rates because of the economy that crashed. Interest rate came down to 7%. And then when everybody recovered, went back to work, interest rate rocked up to the highest that we've had in a few years, 11.75. I really do believe we are at the turning point now. So from here on going forward, the interest rates are hopefully within the next 2 months going to come down, and we might see, as I said, a 1.5% rate reduction. Ek is nie 'n econoom nie, I can't see into the future, but my prediction is that we will see a 1.5% rate reduction by the end of next year. All right. Which is going to be good news for us all, because then the property markets are going to be up and running again. People are going to be interested in buying. It's going to be cheaper to buy than to rent. So there's a few factors when interest rates are at that level, where people will definitely go out and buy. Interesting fact too, it came out in our Ooba barometer that we received about a month, I think it was end of June, where the ratio of first-time home buyers is at the highest. And it's strange, because you would think that if interest rates are so high, first-time buyers that's so scared to get into the market and to actually commit will rather just stick with renting than actually going out and buy properties. So that's also a little bit of a flip side of things, because I mean, if first-time buyers are out there buying properties, it can just be good for us going forward, that our markets are definitely going to hopefully up a little bit. All right. So that is with regards to the interest rates. Just once again, on the 19th of September, we will know what the verdict is after that meeting. And as I said, hopefully we will have a 0.25% rate reduction. All right. What is your thoughts? Have you guys given it a little bit of a thought? I've listened to Talk 702 where there was people phoning in and saying, yeah, but we're never going to come down because we're waiting for the Americans. And I think their meeting is only coming up on the 30th, which is after ours. And they said maybe they'll just keep it unchanged just to see what the Americans are going to do. For me, I don't think so. The government is up and running. Everybody has got a position in the government. We've got our cabinet. So I think it does give everybody a little bit of positivity. And they know South Africans are under financial stress, guys. So they need to give us a little bit of a relief. All right. So Yeah, that's my thoughts. Anybody want to comment on that? What's your thoughts on the interest rate?
Ja, hy moet bietjie afkom.
0.25, maybe a 0.5. Not happening yet. Hopefully 0.25. I also think they're just gonna make us a little bit happy before we're gonna see the big drop. All right. Any questions, guys? Anything that you guys want to know with regards to markets and what has happened in the last 6 months? Yes.
What can you advise in terms of fixed interest and variable?
Okay.
Someone who's buying a house.
Yeah. So remember, guys, the banks will buy in on risk if they do a fixed rate option. First thing to remember, the banks will always grant your bond on a variable rate. Only after registration, so only after you have taken ownership on that property, can you approach the bank and ask them to do a fixed rate option. The banks will only fix a rate above prime. I've never in the last 16 years or 14 years seen a fixed rate option at below prime or even below your variable rate that the banks offers. At this stage, it's a very high risk because your rates are high. So the banks will normally, yes, what is my best one that I've seen on fixed rate? Maybe prime plus 0.75, and then you're fixing that rate for the maximum term is 5 years. And now specifically because our rates are high and the predictions are that it is going to come down, it's going to be a stupid thing to go and do, because if that interest rates are on a downward trend, why do you want to go and fix it at high? If that rate was at 7% in COVID times, I would have said to you guys, listen, if you have clients that wants to buy properties after registration, advise them to go and fix it. For the first year, they maybe wouldn't have reaped up that benefits, but after that, where we are now with rates at 11.75, it's definitely not advisable to go and fix your rates. So what happens is, if the bond registers, you go to the banks, they do a whole new calculation on a fixed rate, and you can then choose either you want to fix it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. After that term, the banks will bring it back to your normal variable rate you had. And if you then want to reapply again for your fixed rate option, you can then phone that bank and just ask them to just redo another fixed rate option for whatever term, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. All right. But for now, it's definitely not advisable to go and have your rate fixed, guys. Rates are coming down. If not, it will remain at 11.75, and hopefully by the end of the year, in December, we might see then a 0.25 drop. If I still believe it's going to come down, that's my thoughts, I'm positive. But if it's not going to come down now, definitely December, we will see a little bit of a rate drop. All right. And because our markets are recovering now. So, yeah, definitely not the time to get your rate fixed. All right. Any other questions? Anybody wants to know about anything? Rates, markets? Happy. All right. Then Tanya's asked me to do a little bit of a refresher as to what's happening in the home loan markets with the banks, to see what changes there was, what the banks are offering, and so I've put together for you guys, and I think you've all seen it on the internet. Everybody is rooming on this new products on the bank side. And guys, in the past, it was only Standard Bank that was on board with home loans on costs. So first time buyers, home loan with costs up to 105. You can see on this new sheet, guys, the banks are hungry. They need business. So they are all busy changing their policies. We've got all 4 the major banks, Absa, FNB, Nedbank and Standard Bank, on board offering first time buyers costs. They even went further now and said, right, only one of the applicants, whether it's a 4 bond applicant or 3 bond or 2 bond applicants, only one of those applicants must be a first-time buyer to get the benefits of home loan with costs.
Sure.
So in the past, both applicants needed to be first-time buyers. That rule has now changed. Only one of the 2 applicants or 3 applicants must be a first-time buyer. All right. Happy? Guys, it's a good thing. There's a lot of second buyers that cannot afford costs. Get them somebody to apply with them so that they can reap up the rewards for costs inclusive. If you look at the percentage bonds, guys, Standard Bank went up to 108%. Maximum loan amount 2.2. It was always at 1.8. They've now increased it to an amount of 2.2. So let's just go. Standard Bank is 108%, maximum 2.2. Only one of the applicants must be a first-time buyer, and then obviously the maximum loan term the banks are offering is 30 years, except for ABSA. If you do a bond with cost, they will only look at a maximum of 20 years. All right. So Standard Bank at this stage, one of the best. If you look at ABSA, they've also increased theirs from 105 to 106. And interesting, the purchase price of a maximum 2.5. Guys, it's massive. All right, because our property markets, especially in your guys or in the markets that you guys are operating in, and also I think the people that can afford to buy property is normally the guys buying in a range of about 1.8 to about 2.5. All right, so all four banks on board. You will see at the FNB one, they offer 110%, but it's only for affordable housing market. Clients not earning more than 22,000 Rand a month and not buying for more than 750,000 Rand. All right. Once again, guys, when I do the pre-qualification, I will give you the breakdown and I will tell you this client will get costs. This is the options we have. So if you do present your offer and that client does not have cost, please remember to tell him. The products are there. Don't worry about the cost. And the good thing about this all is the banks, over and above costs, they're giving the clients a 50% discount on the bond attorney fees. What happens? There's a surplus left, so now I get 110% bond, plus I get my 50% off. Now when my costs are paid, let's say there's about 20,000 Rand left. That money can be paid back into the bond, which will reduce the client's home loan installments. All right. Normally on 105%, there would have been about 3% short on costs, but because we've got a 50% discount on the bond attorney fee, your client with 105% costs will not pay any fees in. All right, so that 105% plus the discount will cover him for the full costs. Happy?
That's only for the bond. The bond cost.
Bond cost, yeah. So remember the bank only works with the bond side of it, and obviously when it comes to the transfer, you guys will appoint them. And if you can negotiate, if there's a 1,000 Rand shortage on that fee, guys, please find the transferring attorneys. They can offer discounts. All right. Let's try and go out of our way to help them to be able to get the bond at the best possible policies and rules.
How do you structure a deal for 106?
Your offer stays the same. You do your normal offer and you put in your offer the purchase price at 100%, loan amount at 100%. If the client insists that he's not going to go ahead if he doesn't get costs, please put it in your special conditions just to cover them, so that if we don't get costs, we know that that client is covered and we can cancel that contract. Obviously, it will be nice for us to ask them, if you don't get the cost, will you still be able to pay it? It's great, but you do get the first time buyers that wants cost, and if they don't get costs, there's no way for them in any case. So then you will just add it at the bottom of your offer, saying under your special conditions, stating that this offer is subject to costs inclusive.
But that's only on the amounts like F&B 1.8 or above, or is it
Below.
No, below, but yeah. So that 1.8 up to 2.5 is the maximum bracket. As soon as you go over that amount, cost will not be included. All right, so that's the absolute maximum. So if my purchase price is 1.8 with ABSA Bank, with Nedbank, then you will only get 105%. All right, if it goes over that, they will only look at 100%. All right. I'm not going to go through this table, guys. This is easy. You can go and read through it. Put it in your cabule. If you go and see clients and they want to know, this is the rules. This is how the banks are structuring it. And don't think if you get an offer at 1,801 Rand, you will get cost. The banks are saying no. The policy reads 1.8 maximum loan amount. All right. You do get those clients that wants to say, but I'm buying for 1,850. Can I please get cost with Nedbank? No, sir. Maximum 1.8. Alright, but the field is open here, guys. There is a lot of banks that's offering good deals, up to 2.5, 110% cost, discounts of of the 50%. So there's definitely a lot that the banks at the moment are doing to be able to help first time buyers.
And that's why the
Alright.
market is so busy with them.
And the thing is, guys, the banks have got a target. They've got a monthly target that they need to reach. And if business is not coming in, they need to do something on their side to get the business going. And that's why we're seeing the costs inclusive. We haven't had this since 2008. I don't know if there are agents that was in the markets trading in 2007, 2008, when we had the recession. All the banks came in and they offered costs and they offered discounts and they did this. You can actually appoint your own. You can do your own attorney. You could have done. There was so much playing field open because it was tough times. It was difficult times. And the banks are businesses, guys. They need to make their targets. And if they're not reaching targets, what are they doing to help us to make them reach targets? And that's why we're having this. Costs inclusive, discount on bond attorney fees, discounts on interest rates. Have you guys seen this quotes in the last 2-3? The banks are fighting very, very hard to get business on their own books. All right. So when you do have time, guys, please go through this. Go and read through it. If there is any questions or any scenario or something that you're not sure of, just pick up a phone. We can go through it. We can go through everything together, and I will explain it to you in the best possible way. All right. Any questions, guys? Yes.
Has the criteria changed in the bank and stand yet?
Nothing. Still. So Nedbank 70% loan amount, deposit of 30%. All three other banks, maximum 60, deposit of 40%, unless if you are banking with Standard Bank, they can look up to 80% for vacant stand. All right. Best will always be to get that client to do a combined package with the land and building so that we can still apply for 100%. And we are getting 100%, guys. It never happened. The banks never gave 100% on building loans. We are getting 100% bond approvals on building loans. All right. So then the land will pay out on registration the full amount for land, and the building will then obviously stay back until the work is done for progress payments to be done. We are getting 100%. I know it's like it's happening. The banks are actually giving 100% on building loans. All right. So just keep that in mind. Any other questions? Home loan with costs? Something strange that you maybe see that you want to bring up? Happy. All right. Once again, if we do the pre-qualification, I will do it cost inclusive so that when you do your offer and we need cost, you guys will know that I'm good to go and my client will qualify for whatever cost we need. As I said to you guys, 105%, so 108 to 110 is a bonus because then the full costs are covered. Normally there will be a little bit of money left, so whatever is left, please just tell your client he can't take that money out and use it for his own sake. It needs to go back into the home loan. All right. Good. One thing that I have picked up, and I'm not an expert in the agent field, so I don't know how your business always works, but I've had a deal about a month ago where we did costs, we did the discount, and when that client got his quotation, he was about 8,000 Rand short, and I nearly fainted. Because I'm selling my products to my clients to the best of my knowledge, and I'm like, this has never ever happened to me. How do I deal with this situation? And apparently there's been a change on your rates clearances and your levies in a body corporate. So the rule was always that you needed to pay 3 months pro rata on the seller side, not buyer. On the seller side, he needed to pay 3 months pro rata on water, electricity and levies. Apparently, I don't know guys, but help me out. That is now split up. Seller must pay half of it, buyer must pay half of it. Are you guys aware of it?
No.
Does it not change? I'm sitting with the deal and I need to actually show you guys proof. So obviously that is the bond attorney and the transferring attorney side of things. But that client, and it's not a bad thing because he's still playing his pro, so it will go and lie as a credit on his account. So it's not money that he's going to lose. But I was never ever aware that the buyer needs to pay pro rata on levies in the water and electricity. It was normally your seller that needed to pay 3 months pro rata. Apparently it changed a month ago. So please go and do your homework, and if you do not agree, please give me feedback, because I would also want to know if there was any changes made in the body corporate side of things. I'm not talking about normal property, so your normal residential ones. This is specific to body corporates. So as julle daarmee deel, anybody that's dealing with that, please give me some feedback. Yeah, just give me an
So
update
I
there.
had a situation like that in a complex, it was Constantia, that the body corporate invoiced the buyer 3 months pro rata.
That's exactly what I had now.
But then she said, no, she's not going to do that. And the reason for that is they say people get behind on their levies. So it's actually to protect them.
But whose responsibility is it?
But it must
The
be
seller's. But why?
No, it can't be
Because the seller is still liable to pay levies up to registration.
Yeah, so when
So
they,
he
yeah,
needs to
but
pay
that's the
pro
thing.
rata.
Before registration, they pay that 3 months pro rata that they pay. So the seller pays 3 months pro rata, and then but they get their money back if it registers beforehand. They get
Yeah.
whatever is left of it. They get.
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
needs
But
to
then the
go back
buyer,
into your account
They
as
do
credit.
that to protect them. So that 3 months pro rata, as you said, is going to lie as a credit on their account. But then my buyer said no,
He's
she's
not doing
going
it.
to do it. And
So
they actually
apparently the
reversed
law
it.
changed now, and it's been done about a month ago. So asseblief as julle konsie kry en julle kan, gaan doen 'n bietjie investigation en hoor 'n bietjie wat julle oudjies sê van julle managing agents, so that we can get clarity on that. It's the first one I've ever had. I've never seen pro rata on electricity, water and lights on a buyer's transfer quote. And I was quite shocked. I even phoned that attorney and I said, listen, this is bull, because how can you expect a buyer to pay 3 months pro rata? And she said apparently that's what it is. That's what the body corporate wants, and if that buyer is not willing to do it, then this deal is not happening. Any case, luckily we've got a buyer that had a bit of money, and I said to him, it's not money you're going to lose. It's
Yeah.
going to go as a credit into your levy account, which is perfectly fine. But I just found it very, very strange that you would have a pro rata on a buyer's account and not the seller.
Ek dink dit is ook om te prevent dat die body corporate so in arrears gaan.
I think maybe that's a thing just to protect the body corporate, so that there is a little bit of a surplus already built up in the new buyer's account, but it still remains the seller. I mean, he still needs to make sure that his levies is up to date, up to the day of registration, and I know he needs to pay pro rata. That was always a thing, I know, but not the new buyer.
Yeah.
That buyer is reliable to pay that payment on registration going forward.
Yeah, I think we
But that
must
will be
just
interesting
make,
to know
yeah,
what the changes
before-
were.
When selling the property, just speak to the body corporate first.
Mm.
Even when you go and list it, and ask them, with registration, do you charge 3 months pro
Pro
rata?
rata.
So
Yeah.
that you can tell your buyers.
Maybe
in advance.
maybe it was also a thing where it was specific to that body corporate, where they have got their own rules to say if it is a new buyer, we want him to pay 3 months pro rata, and not just on levies, on water, electricity. So I'm like, but that goes on the council's bill. And they came back and they said, yeah, but the body corporate is paying a lump sum money over to the council every month. Which for me, I don't know if that's even a thing, because I've got a property in a body corporate and I pay my own municipal account. Yeah. I get an account from them every month. So maybe it's a body corporate rule where they said, listen, we agreed, and this is what the body corporate decided, that everybody must pay into the kitty and it will go lie as a credit on your account. I don't know. But it was strange because I've never had it. Yeah. All right. Anything else, guys, with regards to cost, products, changes in the market? You guys are happy? Good. All right. And then the next one that I want to quickly touch base on, and this is actually, I don't want to sit here for another hour. I know we had a brief chat about the subsidy, the FHF, first home financing, the previous time when Audrey and myself did training at your offices in Vereniging. This product is specific to affordable housing market, guys. So I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not going to elaborate on it. If that is your market, I'm asking you nicely to give me a call or come and have a chat now, so that we can make an appointment. We can sit down together and I can take you through the whole process of the first home financing product. All right. I'm not going to bore everybody because I know there's not a lot of people that just specifically works in the affordable housing departments or market. All right. So we all know the FLISP product. Everybody knows what the FLISP is about. It's a subsidy that goes to affordable housing market clients when they first time buy property in SA. The government, the housing subsidy is giving them money, or the housing department is giving that first time buyer money towards his property. It's a cash donation. He never needs to pay it back. He doesn't take a loan out that he needs to repay. It's literally money that client is getting for free from the government. All right. Quick thing, you need to be a first time buyer. You need to be cohabiting or looking financially after a dependent, not earning more than 22,000 Rand a month. And I did mention first time home buyer. Wat anders was daar nou?
South African citizen.
Oh, yeah. So you need to be a SA citizen. Not allowed to buy if you're a foreign national. Not allowed to buy if you have a work permit or a spouse's permit or. You need to have your permanent residency in SA. So if I am a Zim and I got my permanent residence, I get issued with a green barcoded ID book. Do you qualify? Yes, because now I've got permanent residency in SA. Or if you have your South African ID book. All right. Those are the qualifying criteria. If we do the pre-qualification, guys, I will tell you this client is qualifying for FLISP, and this is where it gets interesting now, because in the past, when you did FLISP, the client needed to go to the housing department. He gets handed over a pack of documents like this, and that poor affordable housing client that earns 3,000 Rand a month must now go through this pack of documents and complete everything. Then he goes back to the housing department. 6 weeks later, they come back and say, but half of the documents are not completed. This is not it was just a mess. And after a year, everybody just gave up and this deal fell through. Ooba came to the party, and we've got a full dedicated team that's now looking after our FLISP or new first home financing applications. I've been doing this since last year, November, and I must tell you guys, it works brilliantly. We get payouts done within 60 days. Even before registration, FLISP money is paid out. All right. So what I do is, if your client qualifies, once again, it takes us back to the pre-qualification and why it's so important to do a pre-qualification, guys. Because if I only get the offer, my main focus is going to be to get this client approved as soon as possible so that we can get the bond registered and. But if we get a pre-qualification, I can tell you, but listen, Estelle, this client is qualifying for 120,000 Rand deposit that he can get from FLISP. Add it to your offer. It's going to put the client in a better, position to qualify, and we run with the whole application. So I phone them, I tell them I need, because your documents you need for the FLISP is exactly the same than what you would need for a home loan application. Only difference is there's a first home financing application form, which I complete, send to the client, sign it, and send it back to me. Okay, I will not ask them to do anything, because it's a mess. Okay, we know how to do applications and exactly how we need to, to put in all the amounts in. So what we do on the pre-qualification is we do a quick pre-screen on that client to make sure that he will qualify. We get a pre-qualification document on the pre-qualification of the home loan, as well as the first home financing pre-qualification. On the pre-qual document from the first home finance department, it will tell you exactly the amount that client will qualify for. So if you quickly open your annexure Q that I've also added to your FLISP file or to your training file, quickly look at those amounts, guys. It's crazy. A client earning a salary of 3,500 up to 3,700 gets 169,264 from the first home finance department towards his home loan. Means it is huge. That's massive. Okay, I've got a few agents that's also telling me, listen, if I average my com out over the last year, I only get 3.5 months. Dan sê ek soos bring, let's do FLISP. Because you qualify. Your salary for the last 12 months have only been 3,500 Rand. Bring die FLISP, let's do it. Because if you can get 169,000 Rand towards a property, guys, if you buy a property of 350,000 Rand, your repayment is going to be 3.5. If you add that to your property, your repayment is going to be 1,400 rand. If I rent my property out for 3.5,
Pay my bond.
investment, massive. Domestic workers, how many people does have people working in your house? My story about this first time financing, because I needed to test this out. Spoke to Otuliki, she's been working for me for many years. She's got a family home, her mom and dad passed away many years ago. And I said to Otuli, you will never ever buy property in our country because you have your own family home. That's paid up. Let's buy investment property. Managed to get a 2-bedroom house in Rosettenville. It's not a good area, but for rental, Rosettenville is massive. Managed to get a property. We did a little bit of renovations, and literally, guys, she's earning a rental income over and above what she's getting from us. For them, it's massive. So keep that in the back of your mind. If there's any client that's earning in the low bracket, but they don't want to buy a house because they can't afford it. Guys, if you add 169,000 to your purchase price, can you just imagine? All right, it's a thing, it's happening.
So if my client only qualifies for 1.2 million, right? But they qualify for FLISP as well. So then I can look for them for a property for 300.
Remember, onthou gaga vinnig. So the maximum earnings are 22,000 rand. You will never ever afford a property of 1.2 on a salary of 22,000 rand. If perhaps, like I'm sitting with one now, where the daughter is buying a property of 2, mom and dad is contributing a deposit towards that property, but her salary qualifies her to go and apply for FLIS. She's got a little daughter out of a previous marriage that she is looking after financially. Her first time finance application was done. So she bought that property. So there's no limit on the purchase price, guys. This FLIS is linked to your earnings. So as long as you don't as long as you don't earn more than 22,000 Rand gross salary a month, you will qualify. Jointly, so if husband and wife wants to buy together, the salary jointly must also not be more than 22,000 Rand.
Dis rarig. Myne was 22,500 en hulle sê
Jy moet volgende jaar minder werk.
ja.
Ek
Sy was baie kwaad.
I can think. It's crazy. So then guys, there's the table.
Begin nou net 12 uur te werk.
Ja, halfdag. So I've printed out this whole table. This is the latest one that we got from them last month. So when you do get clients that are still in this affordable housing market, you can just go and have a look at this table. I just want to look at the maximum earnings of 22. I think it was 38,000. So the maximum amount or the maximum salary will get the minimum amount. So once again, the higher your salary, the lower your benefits. The lower your salary, the higher your benefits. All right. So then the maximum is 22,000 Rand, and you will then qualify for an amount of 38,911. Money for free. You don't need to pay it back. It's not a loan. It's not a. And this is now the thing, because Tilly asked me, but Nadia, if I need to resell my house after 5 years, must I give that money back? No, it's your money. You qualified for that FLIS. So what Tilly said, and that's what I want to do now. I wanted to have this property, and it's a good rental income. It's a good investment for her. She's earning a little bit of money out of this house. And one day when she sells it, she will get that 149,000 out. She will have it. Because that property will then be paid up, and she's going to get even more because your property markets are growing. Your value on your property is growing. All right. So please don't forget about the FLIS. It's not FLISP anymore. The old name is FLISP. I always say FLIS because I know everybody knows what FLISP is. But they've changed the product. It's called the First Home Financing product.
And if you can help one of your domestic workers, they talk. They will bring you business.
I thought I want to have like a Ooba boinkie with a garden in the car that can interact. I want to just do pre-qualifications on FLIS because I think I will be so busy.
How do you prove to them you're looking better after your training? What do you, let's say, need to show that?
And that's what I don't want to go into because it's a lengthy process. So if you guys want me to come and do a proper FLIS training so we can go through all the regulations, but it's also not things that I want you to do because it's the relationship that I have with that client and ek weet presies wat hy moet doen. So it's a police clearance. So they need to go to the police station. They need to go and do a affidavit with the ID copies of the dependents or the financial dependents or whoever they obviously adding as a dependent. Nou dink ek alweer te vinnig, nou waar ek weer wil was. Okay, so the pre-qualification is easy. We only need a copy of the ID, the FLISP application form, which is a one-page form, and proof of income. That gets sent through to the FHF department. They then come back and they say, congratulations, your client has been pre-qualified for whichever amount, 149,000 or 20 or 23, what. Conditions is we need to give them a bond grant that's been accepted and signed for them to process the formal FLISP application, FHF application. Alright. So once we've got the pre-qualification on file, that's where that process stops. Then we go on with the home loan application. Best is always, guys, jy sien, hier gaan ek nou in 'n uur in, want as ek eers begin, gaan ek nie ophou nie. So, I will always, first priority will always be for us to get 100% approval, so that if there is a quick registration that can happen, we don't need to wait for FHF. They've been offline about, when was it, in Jan, when they did a whole system migration, and we waited about 6 weeks for our applications just to be processed. And then it's another 2 weeks for payment, and then there's another 2 weeks because the attorneys need to get the money into their trust account. It's a whole process, guys. It's not just a 1, 2, 3 and it's paid, all right? But when we do the pre-qualification and it is done, I go with my home loan application. Always try to apply for the maximum amount that client can qualify for, because you have 12 months after registration to still apply for the benefits of FHF. So if that FLIS money then pays out, it will go into the client's home loan account. The transferring attorney or the bond attorney, whoever we appoint, depending on which attorneys we're dealing with, that's the choice we have. That money will go into their trust account, and that money will then be distributed to the transferring attorney, the bond attorney, and whatever is left will go back into the home loan, and then they will recalculate it, and it will obviously bring down the client's repayment amount.
I just wanted to ask, if it's a government employee that has a home subsidy, do they still qualify for FLISP?
If you reap up a benefit of any government subsidy, you will not qualify. So clients that has RDP houses will not qualify because he already received from a previous scheme. Okay, so you can only benefit on one scheme that comes from government housing departments. All right. Government subsidies is paid for by the ek weet nie, that's actually a very good question, because I've never had one where I needed to apply for a government employee. Isn't the subsidy like an add-on onto your salary? I don't think it's a benefit as such. It's not a house. It's a contribution that your company, like the education department or the medical department, is giving you towards your salary to be able to afford a property. But it's not a lump sum money. It's not a house that you're getting. So I would think, I will ask them, but I would think that will not form part of a scheme that they actually giving to first-time buyers that falls in the affordable housing market. But I'll come back to you on that one, Mia. Give me your number when we're done, then I'll phone you back as soon as I've got answers. Alright, so guys, this thing is massive, and because Ooba's doing it, we have a dedicated team. They go and screen those documents before it even goes to the FHF. We've got people that goes through documents, make sure the signatures are on their same places, make sure all the details are there, make sure the ID numbers are captured correctly. Before that application goes to the FHF department, Ooba knows that everything is in order. And once it hits their table, they can process. Then within about a month, you get approval, a formal letter of grant, which they call it. And then with that letter, they then send us a list of paperwork that we need to get from the bond or transferring attorneys, which will be the loan agreement, proof of banking details for the transferring attorneys, because that department will not pay money out to anybody's account. It needs to go to a specific, that bond or transferring attorney that dealt with that deal. It must go into their trust account. That attorney, after payout is done, need to provide the FHF department with documents saying that this is the way that they've paid out the money.
I had a client that recently was interested in purchasing a property, but he said to me he hasn't been permanently appointed. However, I think his contract is like 6 years or 7 years or something. Can a client like that qualify for FLISP, or should you provide like proof that
He can absolutely qualify. I believe if there is stability in his income, why must they not give him that benefit? So if I can prove to that department that he's been working for this company for the last 6 years, but they don't offer permanent contracts, they only do temp contracts for 6 months or 12 months. Once again, it's important to do those pre-qualifications, because if he then, we can always try. And if they then come back and say that, sorry, we do not do that, then at least we know, on contract basis, I will still motivate it, because that door is open. So I can always go back and say, guys, I do not agree. This client is working on a contract basis, I know, but just look at the history of his employment. Look at his occupation. He is perhaps an electrician, or he is a shipwreck worker that works on the oceans and digging up oil or whatever. So as long as we understand the client scenario, you can't apply for a client that's just on a contract basis for the last 3 months. Nobody is going to give him anything, because of the fact that they don't know if he will be earning an income going forward. And the banks, the same. If you are working on a contract basis, no bank is going to give you money towards a property if you can't confirm permanent employment. If a client is working on contract basis, the first thing I do ask, what is your history? Where have you been working for the last 6 years? Now, I'm a student straight out of varsity. I've only started now. You will not qualify.
even for FLISP?
Our farmers. Are you talking about FLISP? No, FLISP is not just based on your. So FLISP is if you're working on a contract basis anyway, why would they not qualify you? If you can prove your earnings and you send your deal through to FLISP, hoekom sal hulle nie vir jou geld gee nie? No, you do well. As long as your criteria is met, salary not more than 22,000 rand, you are a first time buyer, you do have a financial dependent that you do look after, they can't not give you the benefit of that subsidy. Obviously with the banks it's a different story, because chances of that client getting a loan might not be there because it's only working on a contractual basis. Bank's rule is you need to be permanently employed. But I'm sitting with a lot of applications where farmers that's working in America, they work on a 12-month contract basis, where they work in America for 9 months, and according to their visa applications, they must come back to SA for 3 months. Only after 3 months they can go back to America, go and work there for another 9 months. Then they must come back to South Africa, renew the visas, blah, 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 for 3 months. So that client is a contract worker. He's actually only working 9 months a year. Will the bank look at his application? Yeah. As long as there's a strong history behind his story. Okay, so what I do, I tell him, I want your contract, send me everything, your last 3 years contract, I want the basis that you are working with, and I'm telling you, we're getting bonds approved for those Americans like nobody's business, because why do they need to not give them that benefit? If I can average out his salary over 12 months, even though he's just working for 9, if I can average it out over 12 months, and affordability is still there for him to qualify, hoekom wil die bank hom dan penaliseer? All right. As long as I can prove a strong case, I can tell the banks he's been working as a farmer for the last 3 years. He's got a contract that's still valid for the next 12 years. There's no reason for him to not go back. He's loving his job. Jy gee so julle lekker motivering. They will not penalize him. All right. So if you do ever get a contract worker, guys, don't walk away. Let's just get his story and find out. But why are you working as a contract worker? What is your history? And they do, 100%. Worry, you guys, julle monde, ek hoor nou die mooi Afrikaans, julle monde tot flippe op die vloer hang, just to see how much those South African boertjies, farmertjies, is earning in America. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyways, that's me, guys. Thank you for having me. Is there any questions with regards to FLISP? Enige ietsie wat julle wil weet rakende die FLISP with the FHF applications? Nothing. Once again, guys, I don't want you to run with the application. All that we need is a name and a number to do the pre-qualification. Once the pre-qualification is done, I will tell you Your client, Yolanda, qualifies for FLIS. Your client is pre-qualified for that amount. We need that FLIS money towards your deposit on the application because this client's credit scoring is not going to work for 100%. Okay, so that's why we must always think back on that product that is available. And pre-quals, guys, we need to do pre-qualifications. I know there's not a lot of, I know clients normally also get irritated when we do try and help them with pre-qualifications because they're like, but I can't qualify, I know my credit score. Yeah, on clear score you always have a good credit score, sir. Maybe not with the banks. Okay, so it's always better to know that you are pre-qualified. And the moment that certificate is issued, guys, listen, we can start opening that bottle of champagne. We might not drink it yet, but we can open it so long because it does give you a little bit of power to know that this client is pre-qualified. A client that's pre-qualified is a client that's pre-qualified. The only thing that can then go wrong is VALs, body corporates that's in arrears on their levies, and that's something that we cannot really control. All right, but as long as a client is pre-qualified, kan jy met positiwiteit en met oomf uitgaan vir daai kliënte plek kry because you know that that client is pre-qualified.
En dan jy dan gesê jy kan nou weer soos wat jy nou met my kliënt gaan maak. Jy kan nou weer qualify.
So we're sitting with the scenario with Estelle's client that she pulled out of this deal. Kan ek maar sê?
Yeah.
So she pulled out of this deal because the body corporate financials was not in a good standing. So the levies was behind. There was a bit of a deficit in the last 2 years financials, and she decided to pull out of this deal. But now she wants to buy a property that's worth more than what she qualified for at that time. So I said to Estelle, we didn't even do a pre-qualification. I think we only got the offer, and I only applied for her to get that property at 650. I can't remember. But I suggested to her now, let's do an updated pre-qualification. Let's see, maybe this client can qualify for 1.2. Then you might get a property for her at 1.2. Alright, so when we do the pre-qualifications, we will always qualify them for the max. But if we don't do a pre-qualification and I just get the offer sent from Natasha or from Tan, I'm only going to apply for the loan amount that you've given to me on the offer to purchase. With costs, obviously, if that client needs costs. So then I'm not going to come back to you and say, Barry, now your client is buying for 650, but you can actually buy for 2 million. Why would I do that? Okay. So if you guys want us to qualify them for a higher amount, please chat to me. So listen, this client is interested in this property, but I've got another buyer. Let's see if we can't qualify for a little bit more. Alright. Ek gaan daai ene vir jou doen. Ek gaan hom check, laat ons kyk wat kan ons vir hom kry. Okay. Thank you everybody for having me. It was lovely seeing all of you again. Ek gaan nou my besigheidskaartjies haal. Ek wou dit nog op leer sit, maar ek weet nie. Ek gaan dit nou gaan haal vir julle. En dan